On April 21st, the new EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin had a rather striking press conference. In this press conference, he accused the media of bias in reporting on serious issues of waste and abuse within his agency. He also made clear his intent to address this issue head on. He wasn't afraid to name names, hit hard, and demand accountability. These are perspectives that we at Safe Family Farming deeply value. I want to share with you a clip of Administrator Zeldin's comments.
What raised our alarm here at EPA started before I got here. When that video came out of a Biden EPA political appointee saying that they're rushing to get billions of dollars out the door before Inauguration Day, and they were throwing gold bars off the Titanic, that caught the alarm of members of Congress, and it caught the alarm of me. I said earlier to an unrelated question that I have zero tolerance for any waste or abuse at all.
There you have it. You heard it yourself. The leader of the EPA saying he has zero tolerance for waste and abuse at all. I've gotten the opportunity to meet with personally Administrator Zeldin as well as EPA Region 10's Administrator Emma Pocon, and I have been encouraged by their willingness to engage in dialogue with farmers. Their desire to see the agency operate fairly and not as some tool of abuse against agriculture is exactly what we need right now.
So we come into this office fulfilling our pledge to Congress to get to the bottom of this. And as we overturn different rocks and we find more evidence of waste and abuse, there are some members of the media who have dug in further into saying that there's no evidence. Every time a new piece of evidence comes out, there's some in the media saying, even with more conviction, that there's no evidence. And I don't understand how that...
Clearly, he is as confused as we are. How can some in the media, and really the general public as well, look at the evidence and still insist that there is no evidence for abuse? Over the past several months, we at Safe Family Farming have been working hard to dig deep and uncover and present evidence of EPA's unethical practices that, frankly, farmers in Washington have been experiencing for years.
If I said that there was self-dealing and conflicts of interest, unqualified recipients, and reduced oversight, now, the judge might say, in that particular case, you might say, the people might say, the American public might say, that is an accusation. Where's your evidence? So, oh, I'm glad that you asked. And if I started providing examples of Jahi Wise as the director of the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, being placed on a restriction in December of 2022 that doesn't allow him to be involved in the design of the program. Yet we have emails of him in January of 2023 weighing in on the design of the program. What would you call that? When I say unqualified recipients, you say, well, that's an allegation. But do you have any evidence? Well, I would say that an NGO that receives $2 billion in 2024, that received $100 in 2023, that is evidence that they're not qualified. Now, you could disagree with whether or not you think that that's enough, but that's evidence. When I say that at page 7 of the grant agreement says that they have 90 days to complete training called How to Develop a Budget. Now, you could say, well, that's not enough for you, but it's still evidence.
Exactly. And I am so grateful for Administrator Zeldin for speaking out plainly, for naming names, calling out abuse, and bringing attention to this issue with documented evidence. We at Safe Family Farming are trying to do similar work in investigating this issue and plainly uncovering documentation and evidence of EPA's ongoing abuse against farmers in Washington. So let me follow Administrator Zeldin's example, and I just want to read out and lay out some of the evidence of abuse that has taken place over the past year or so here in the Region 10 area. November 16th, 2023, anti-farm activist attorney Charlie Tebbett met with DOJ and EPA officials for 3 hours to discuss nitrate contamination without any sort of counterbalance or other perspective in the room. Now, if EPA is genuinely interested in getting the full picture of nitrate concerns in this region, why would you pick and give an exclusive platform to one of, if not the most aggressive anti-farm activistic attorney in the area? Over the last year, EPA has quietly pulled back from participating in the lower Yakima Valley's groundwater management area meetings, where producers and environmentalists and those concerned are able to come together along with agencies and find solutions for some of the issues that are being addressed here. But instead, we have seen documented emails showing Ed Kowalski, Director of Enforcement and Compliance Assurance Division, who has met quarterly with anti-farm activist leaders and attorneys. So instead of meeting with producers and environmentalists and concerned individuals and agencies to come up with solutions, EPA leaders have routinely met with activists and attorneys on a quarterly basis to come up with their own agendas and solutions. Now, one of the biggest concerns we found happened on September 12th, 2024, EPA staff, including Eric Winnicky and Danielle Granite from Region 10, joined DOJ attorneys for a meeting with numerous anti-farming lawyers and activists. The subject line for this meeting, U.S. versus Cow Palace coordination. Okay? So the agency met with exclusively anti-farm activists and attorneys who were fighting against dairies and farmers for quote unquote coordination. Okay, that's not impartial. This is not scientific. This is collaboration. This is an agenda. Then over the past decade, and especially over this last year specifically, we have seen coordinated actions between EPA and paid activist groups aimed directly at targeting farms in Washington. Okay? Now, this is abuse. Now, you may disagree that this is enough evidence to act on, and that's your prerogative. But like Zeldin said, this is still evident.
Now, how is it that every single time an additional rock gets overturned with another piece of evidence, that there are some people in the media who will dig down even further and saying there's no evidence?
Exactly. We need to ask, what's it going to take for people to stop pretending like this isn't happening? Okay, farmers have been sounding the alarm for years. And now we have a top EPA official saying what we have been saying all along. We are pleased to see that the new leadership is taking this issue very seriously, but we will be holding them accountable. So thank you, Administrator Zeldin, for your words and your convictions. We need leaders like yourself and Region 10's EPA Administrator Emma Pocon to investigate, to dig deep, to see what's really happening here in the Northwest, and to weed out the unethical, harmful practices that are killing family farms in our area. Administrator Zeldin, you said you have zero tolerance for waste and abuse in your agency. We're asking you to stand by that. We at Safe Family Farming are going to keep pulling up evidence, and we're asking you to act on it.
Again, making sure that we have a zero tolerance policy being implemented here for any waste or abuse.
Well, over the past several years, there is abuse that has happened here in Region 10. Now, the question remains, what are you going to do about it?